what it is you want. Are you unhappy? Do you think the gods have cheated you?
I want my old position back. I am bitter, and I am angry. Everything I had, everything I possessed, everything that I was, has been stripped away from me.
I ask you once more why you have come here.
I want to know. Will the gods ever smile on me again?
A few days later, Horic arrived in Kattegat with his son. Having narrowly escaped death, he had only one ship left, and it was clear that he planned to exploit Ragnar once more. Ragnar held a feast for him, but since they had just had a major battle with Borg, the food at the party was not plentiful. At the feast, Ragnar asked about Athelstan's situation. However, Horic considered Athelstan insignificant and did not care whether Athelstan lived or died, which displeased Ragnar. Ragnar treated Athelstan like family. Bjorn also expressed his affection for Athelstan, who he and his sister had liked since they were young. At this point, Floki informed Bjorn that Athelstan had deceived them and had never abandoned his faith in the Christian God. Athelstan's death is a good thing for them. However, Ragnar did not argue further and asked Horic what his plans were next. Horic said he wanted to invite Ragnar again to join forces and seek revenge on Egbert in Wessex. Both Ragnar and Rollo agreed with this idea, but before that, Ragnar wanted to deal with Borg first, making him pay for his actions. But Horic suddenly changed his attitude. He expressed understanding for Ragnar's thoughts but insisted they needed Borg ships at the moment, otherwise, they did not have enough strength to embark on the Western conquest. After hearing his words, Aslaug advised Ragnar not to listen to him.
Don't listen to him.
Rollo responded to Horic, asking who should negotiate with Borg. Horic felt Rollo would be the most suitable as he knew Borg better. Seeing Ragnar did not disagree, Rollo had to take on the responsibility. Rollo left the next day.
May you have success, Rollo. For the sake of all of us.
As soon as he left, Horic approached Siggy. Using his position, Horic promised Siggy that he could help Rollo and wanted to drive a wedge between the brothers. He asked Siggy to serve his son and let him feel the charm of a mature woman. Faced with Horic's insult, Siggy wanted to get up and leave, but finally acquiesced. At this point, Siggy has been used by Horic, becoming his pawn. Rollo soon arrived at the island of Gotland. His purpose was to persuade Borg to join Ragnar's western expedition. Borg was very surprised because he had invaded Ragnar's territory. How could Ragnar invite him to join him in the western expedition? Rollo explained that Ragnar and Horic lost most of their men. They couldn't embark on another expedition with their current situation. For them, cooperation was the only way to gain greater benefits. He then used his ex-wife's head as a drinking vessel to celebrate their alliance. Then they led a large group of soldiers and arrived at Kattegat. Seeing Borg's fleet slowly approaching, a meaningful smile appeared on Ragnar's face. Ragnar still held a feast to welcome Borg's arrival. Borg took the initiative to be friendly to Ragnar, and Ragnar arranged for Borg and his men to stay. Seeing them shake hands and make peace, Horic praised Ragnar's broad-mindedness. However, Siggy had a different opinion. She felt this was not the real Ragnar. While they were chatting, Floki overheard their secret. Nervously, Siggy walked over, hoping Floki could help keep the secret, but Floki refused. After Lagertha returned to Hedeby, she was frequently insulted by Sigvard, because not long ago, Lagertha had independently helped Ragnar, which had irked him. At night, Lagertha was awakened by the noise outside. She realized that this might be Sigvard preparing a sneak attack. She immediately blew out the candle and prepared for the upcoming fight. Despite Lagertha's strength, she was outnumbered and eventually passed out. Facing a battered Lagertha, Sigvard did not intend to stop there. He even humiliated Lagertha with words. At this moment, the killing intent in Lagertha's eyes became stronger and stronger. Just as Sigvard reached out to undress her, Lagertha picked up the knife from the table and stabbed it into his eye. Everyone was shocked by this sudden turn of events, and a subordinate drew his sword and walked over. Lagertha thought he was trying to protect the Earl and prepared for defense. However, the subordinate's sword was aimed directly at Sigvard. Meanwhile, Borg and his wife were arranged in a room by Ragnar. Borg suddenly had a hallucination and the seer sent him a warning of the blood eagle.
Yes, I can see. And I see an eagle. I see the
However, the dream quickly turned into reality because Ragnar started to act. Rollo showed up with a large number of soldiers, who locked the Borg soldiers' room and set the house on fire. Later, they broke into Borg's room, and Rollo subdued him with one move.
No.
They beat him severely, and then they brought him to Ragnar. The noise outside woke Horic. He rushed over to ask Ragnar why he acted like this. Ragnar replied frankly that he couldn't let Borg off the hook so easily.
Did you really think that I could ever forgive this man for threatening to kill my family?
So what will you do now?
Since you consort with eagles, I will draw a blood eagle on your back, and your rib cage will spring apart. No.
Borg completely breaks down and starts frantically begging Ragnar for mercy. The next day, Horic found Ragnar again, hoping that he would spare Borg for the time being, because they still need Borg ships to continue their journey westward. Ragnar indicated that he would consider it. Horic sought out Borg, having his own plans. If Ragnar killed Borg, it would break the balance and Ragnar would threaten his position. Borg agreed with him and suggested that Horic kill Ragnar and make Rollo the new Earl. Ragnar sought out the seer to inquire about Athelstan's whereabouts. The prophet tells him that Athelstan is still alive, just maybe not the man he once was, and that his soul is in agony.
You must tell me where he is.
He is with a man you know, a foreigner, a king.
King El came to the kingdom of Wessex. He wanted to invite King Egbert to ally with him to fight against the Vikings.
We must be prepared for him. If you and I and our kingdoms are allied together, we will be stronger. If his army lands in Northumbria, I will come at once to your aid and trust that you will do the same for me. Mercia is a neighbor of mine, as it is of yours, so you know very well what is happening there. Since the death of King Offa, the kingdom has fallen into turmoil, with several members of his family competing for the throne. It suits neither of us to have such an unstable and tumultuous neighbor. But if you and I join together, not only against the Northmen, but also against Mercia, we should surely overcome it.
At this point, Ragnar began to seek new allies. A man came to Ragnar's territory, claiming that Earl Ingstad wanted to join their alliance. Ragnar was not familiar with the name Ingstad, but hearing that they were powerful, he became interested. The fact that they proposed to meet in the forest further piqued Ragnar's curiosity. Ragnar rode his horse into the forest, surprisingly discovering that the so-called new ally, Earl Ingstad, was Lagertha. They looked at each other and smiled. All the concerns disappeared instantly. At this time, Rollo also knew about Siggy and Horic being together. He didn't understand why Siggy did this. Siggy said that she did all this for him. Aslaug watched Lagertha training in the square and couldn't help but feel some envy. She also wanted to become a warrior like Lagertha, not just bear children for Ragnar. Aslaug is pregnant again, but this time she is extremely worried, because in the refuge farm, Ragnar wanted to be intimate with her when he just came back, but Aslaug refused. She even cursed Ragnar that if he forced himself on her, she would bear him a monster. However, Ragnar, who was eagerly longing to be intimate with Aslaug, didn't heed the warning. Now, the new ally, Lagertha, has joined, which makes Borg worthless. At night, Borg was released from the dungeon. He was hopeful, thinking that it was Horic who had sent someone to save him. When he arrived at the square, he realized that it had been arranged as an execution ground. Borg at this time wasn't as fearful as he initially was. During the entire execution process, he didn't scream in pain. The Blood Eagle punishment is extremely cruel. The offender must silently endure the pain. Otherwise, their souls won't be able to enter Valhalla. Not soon after, Aslaug gave birth to boneless Ivar, but in the Viking era, the weak and disabled couldn't survive. Ragnar wanted to abandon this little life, but Aslaug couldn't bear to part with her child. Therefore, Ragnar had to secretly abandon Ivar in the wilderness.
There's no other way. No other way, my son.
Ragnar hadn't gone far when Aslaug followed and took the child back. Left with no choice, Ragnar finally decided to let the child stay.
The child should have a name. Now that the gods have saved him.
His name is Ivar.
Ivar the Boneless.